Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. You can submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers and make an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ PK, we're joined now by Eric Duft, Weber State men's basketball coach. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. Probably not as good as you because, we're not getting calls from Damian Lillard, and you are, so you win.
Yeah, no question.
He's the general manager, and the thing we have learned very quickly is at the college level, general manager can mean a lot of things. What does it mean at Weber State?
Well, he's actually been really involved with our team ever since he turned pro, and I was just going to ramp it up more. But the announcement came obviously on Saturday, but all spring he was helping us and staying in contact with who we were recruiting, and we were sending clips, and he had some ideas. And so, all that's been going on. The announcement was made Saturday, but his influence has been felt for a while.
Is this something with the general manager thing, because he's been having an influence, as you say, it's just more of a sign of the times, so it'd be a natural of what he's already been doing?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, and don't get me wrong. I mean, he's going to step it up. I mean, he's at the point of his career. I think he's training smarter, not longer. I think he has a little bit more downtime, with some of his recovery. Obviously, next year he has a lot of downtime with trying to rehab from the injury. But he's going to be more and more involved. And I think he understands the landscape of college basketball. He's around these young guys that come into the NBA that let him know what's going on now in college. It's different than when he played, and now he wants to step forward and help even more.
How much of what he'll do is helping you scout and recruit guys? How much is retain guys? How much is working with alumni and boosters on NIL? Does he get into that area? Where does he spend his time when he's working on Weber State?
I think all that's on the table, and obviously the recruiting part's going to be a big thing, and his influence there can really help us. It helped us this spring, to be honest with you guys, but he's so close to the team, to the guys that he played with. He stays in contact with our pros that are overseas, and we had $9 million being made last year in professional basketball outside of Dame's contract, and he stays in touch with those guys, and he's going to be influential in every area.
Did he come to you basically and say, let's doing this, or did you guys go to him since you're sort of saying, well, Damian, you're already basically doing it anyway? How did it come about?
It was more of an organic thing. I mean, I think him and I talked about it a little bit the other night. I don't remember exactly, what the last impetus was for him to want to do this. But, we were talking about recruiting, and then one day he just texted me. It was kind of late in the season, and he says, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, I think that's exactly right." And he said, "Okay, let's we'll get to that point, and in the meantime, let's just keep doing what we're doing."
Does he analyze individual guys' games?
Yeah.
He does.
He does, guys. There's no question about it. And he's been a guy since he's been in the league. He can't watch every game, obviously, but the games he watches, he's going to give some feedback, and it's always been welcome. And he's definitely a guy who knows the strengths and weaknesses of each player in our program. And he's not afraid to tell us, hey, what he's got to get better at, or what we got to keep promoting with that player to keep him playing well.
NCAA rules have changed dramatically over the years. It used to be basketball restricted earnings coach, and this guy could do this, but he couldn't coach on the floor during practice and all this stuff. And I can't keep up with all the changes. So basically, is there anything that he couldn't do?
Yeah, he won't be an on the floor guy. Obviously, even when he comes back, we're allowed now to have 5 assistant coaches that can be on the floor. So you have 6 total, including the head coach, that can be on the floor and then be designated recruiters. You can only have 4 out at one time, but it can be any of those 6 guys. So if he would come back to practice or whatnot, then he obviously wouldn't be able to get on the floor and coach, but he can always communicate with the team and then again be involved heavily in the recruiting process. And he's already done some. Like, he spoke to our guys on Saturday after his workout, and it was about an hour and a half. And it's just so valuable having his, the things that we're preaching, the things that we're trying to instill in our guys with connectivity and mental toughness and resiliency. That's just who he is. And he spoke to all those things. And it was just, a great experience for our guys.
Is there a part of you that says, man, I told all these guys this stuff and they didn't listen? Now Damian tells them and they listen. Or you just take advantage of that?
No, and I tell you though, the only problem we had was this. I had 2 guys come up to me after he spoke, and they said we were so starstruck that the first 15 minutes I don't even know what he said. So, but once he got into it, but yeah, that's always going to be the case. You guys know that, being fathers, that sometimes you're telling your kids something, and then his junior high coach or his high school coach says the same thing, and then they come home and say, Dad, I should be doing this. And you're like, yeah, it's what I've told you for the last 8 years of your life. But no, it's great coming from him. And he's so genuine, authentic, with Dame. The great thing about him is he opens up and tells them not just of the good things that he does in his career, but the struggles that he's had, the things that he's had to deal with. And he's just so genuine and authentic that guys really relate to him quickly.
How much do you do and have done in terms of recruiting as far as holding up Damian Lillard as an example when you're trying to get the services of a young man, thinking, hey, look what this kid, when he was a kid, was able to accomplish here, and now as a man, what he's able to accomplish over there?
Well, it's a huge part of it, and now, we had Dylan Jones, obviously Joe Bollenboy got drafted too. And we've got, like I said, we've got some very successful pros in Europe right now, but, Dame, it's not just his basketball that we promote here, but it's how he lives his life. It's the intangibles off the court, how coachable he is. We've got some things in our recruiting visits where, he was on Colin Coward's podcast. He had some different interviews where he talks about his experience at Weber State. He talks about the values that he learned there. He runs a camp called Formula Zero where, and he just comes out and says, hey, these are the values that I learned at Weber State. He passes those on to young, talented high school and college players. And so, it's not just the basketball, but it's the way we run our program. And, we're going to be accountable. We're going to have good people in here. We're going to do things the right way. And we're going to give back to our communities. And we're in a situation right now, guys, where everything's get. What can I, we're hiring agents. Guys are hiring agents. They're getting as much money as they can. And we tell our guys, we're going to help you with that. We're going to do the best we can. But at the end of the day, we're also going to give back. And we point to Damian and the stuff that he does in the community, and then Dylan Jones too. Before Dylan Jones ever made $1 in NIL or with his pro contract, Dylan was doing a back to school drive in Columbia, South Carolina, for disadvantaged students and giving away backpacks and school supplies and part of that is because when he was here for 4 years, he was out in the community. He was the most visible athlete in the community here while he was Weber State. So, all that's going to plays into it. We're not just, we're not just a one-dimensional program. We want these guys to develop as people too. And again, Damian just personifies that.
Was that something that Dylan had in him when he came to Weber State, or is that something that he heard early on from Damian Lillard and adopted? Because Lillard famously was really involved with the Boys and Girls Club because he'd been involved when he was really young.
I think all that's in play. I mean, Dylan came with a great heart. He came from a family that loved him, that told him the truth. AAU coaches that did the same thing, high school coaches. But then he gets here and he takes it up a notch. Because we tell our guys, if you don't want to give back, if you don't want to go read in the schools, if you don't want to be in the community doing stuff for people, this isn't the program for you. And so, I think his habits while he was here, he was just out doing stuff all the time. And then it was just kind of a natural evolution to help those kids back home, that needed some assistance.
Anytime a coach takes a job and you ask him about recruiting, well, we want to recruit the state first. We want to mine the in-state talent, bring them aboard. And I'm wondering from the Weber State perspective, with the transfer portal being what it is and kids on the go constantly, what is your recruiting area in a sense?
Yeah, we've always wanted to recruit Utah. It's just been hard. We haven't, obviously it's going to be hard for us to beat Utah and BYU and Utah State for recruits. And, over the years, there haven't been enough Division I players for us to get really involved, but that's changed a little bit. And, you see BYU and Utah, having to really amp up their recruiting, being in the Big 12. And so, it's given us a chance to get out and recruit more local guys. And so we've got 2 guys on their missions right now that we signed 2 years ago, and they'll be back next season. And so we have benefited from that to some degree. But, we've always had Weber State. We've always had success with California guys and Texas guys. And now it just doesn't seem to matter, I guess, really, with like you said, with the transfer portal, you get them from all over.
How did Weber State fare in the transfer portal this year?
We got 4. We had a balanced approach, guys. We got 4 transfers that we really like. They're going to be really good players for us. Had a good summer, and then we went out in the fall and got 4 high school guys that were probably 5 years ago we couldn't have got talent wise. But these bigger schools just aren't recruiting high school kids very, very hard. And we got aggressive. And so we've got 4 really talented high school guys as well. And, we thought that was a way for us to get good players in our program. And, they're going to be a little bit younger, but they're very talented and they're highly competitive. And so, you just have to figure out the level that you're at and adjust accordingly to get good players.
Well, Coach, congratulations on tying Damian Lillard to the program a little more. That figures to be a good thing, and we'll look forward to seeing how you do this season.
Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Eric Duft, Weber State men's basketball coach, joining us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, everything you missed in this show coming up next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.